I don't know if this actually exists yet. So this is me kind of like thinking out loud here and curious to get your thoughts on this idea of like a Hivemind memory curator. So when I worked in house, especially at WordPress, we had this like really cool uh, data team that was doing a lot of like in-house tooling for experimentation and like teaching and training. And so we had a bunch of like experiments going out all the time. But we lacked this like central repository for saving results of experiments and then like doing stuff with those after, or just like feeding that into a machine somewhere that like keeps learning and like it shares that with other teams. So I've been like meditating on this idea of just like, lots of models do a really good job at taking input, recommending an output, and reinforcement learning obviously like helps with a lot of automation around or optimization around this space. But sometimes like operationalizing all of those learnings from cross experiments and all of your systems and into like micro learnings from experiments is really hard. And I've like maybe there's companies doing this. I'm curious to get your thoughts, but like imagine this like persistent collective memory of all your past campaigns, hypotheses,
Yeah.
experiments, decisions with rationale, with like empathy, emotional context, real outcomes, results in the form of an agent. And it helps you eliminate repeat mistakes. You're saving time by not doing experiments that you've already run. Then you can make the argument of like, well, it's a different time. Like maybe it's going to get different results. But just like automating campaign debriefs, you're enhancing like cross team learning, drawing patterns from different teams within the org. I couldn't find a tailored made solution for this. Like most of my research led to like products like iPass or Mind Studio is one that kind of came up. But what are your thoughts there, Bully?
Yeah, I think that would be a dream to have as a marketer. I think to be able to access somebody at credible, a marketer at credible, like I don't know, 5 years back was like historical learnings. That's the value, right? Like, why do you want to retain employees? Is because obviously they have a lot of like historical knowledge about what works, what doesn't. Um, well, I think I'm excited about Atlassian's Rovo product that they're pushing on, which is supposed to be like, like Confluence and like is Jira is where like a lot of companies will operate, right, in terms of their tickets and BI tickets, test results, and then like documenting like campaign documents, etc. So I'm actually, and then Google has like, Gemini embedded within like Google Docs. Like, so whatever, like, or I haven't used Notion, but like, I'm sure like they might probably have a similar equivalent of it. But I actually think some of this would be accelerated by the, LLM models behind these like Atlassians and like Google Suite of the world, where if we are as marketers storing and like documenting everything to the T in one place, like one's doing it in Confluence, others doing it in Notion, like one's doing it in Asana. Like I think as long as it's in one place, like I am kind of bullish. I've looked at like some of the videos from Rovo and seeing like what like you can prompt it to create more documentation. Like I could see like where I could just ask like some of these AI, like I think Rovo is supposed to be a chat agent too. Like I could ask Rovo that, hey, like how like I'm thinking of this idea, like what can you find from existing documentation or like test results that could support and or not support this idea? Um, so yeah, but I haven't, apart from that, I haven't seen like any other tools. I think where a lot of tools are building in the space is sort of those personalization agents, right? Like they're saying that, hey, like we'll take this memory, store it, do reinforcement learning, and then like personalize the experiences for your users. Obviously, what that takes away is like a marketer's ability to access those learnings or like figuring out what worked, what doesn't. Um, but I think in this world, in the next couple, like 1, 2, 3 years, at least I see a space for your like Hivemind Memory Curator kind of a place, right? Because there is, and especially larger companies, larger marketing teams, 100, 200 people marketing orgs, like I could see like, somebody's testing something in email and somebody's testing something in like meta ads, and like, are they talking to each other? Like I could see like huge value in something like
Mm.
this.
Yeah, I feel like one of the counter arguments to this, I'm like talking myself out of it, is this like there's a big trend of platforms that are basically saying instead of a human coming up with an experiment and then running the experiment test, like you should have a system of always on experiments, especially for email. Like we have now access, like there's some tools that folks I've chatted with on the show that are doing this already. Like there's no human coming up with like a segment of people and like a campaign idea and sending those out. They just have like a library of messages and content offers and then a
Yeah.
huge system in their data warehouse of people to message to and a model that like predicts the likelihood that someone will respond well to a certain message at a given time based on what they've done, and then the machine just like sends those messages out to those people, and there's always experiments going out behind the scenes, so there's never a campaign getting launched to a certain subset of people without there being a holdout. So you're always comparing it to people not getting it, so you're always getting like incremental impact on everything that you're doing. So, the counter argument there is like, what's the point of a hive mind with like all the results of experiments? And it really just gives you data to like do another experiment. Like what you should be doing instead
Right.
is having always on experiments for all of your campaigns, at least like stuff that's digital over like some of the channels that you control. I don't know. Like, it feels super far fetched for some teams, especially in enterprise that are a bit slower. But I've chatted with some folks that are like using some of these products, and they're just like, yeah, this is the future, and the future is now for some of these companies.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is definitely a big spike in sort of the personalization or decisioning agent companies, especially in the lifecycle marketing space. Many companies are definitely pushing for that now. But I've also heard that some of these like tests can end up being so complex. Especially in like larger organizations where there might be another product experiment like going on, and then you're like running this experiment on top of it, and like the number of like variations there could be, and just the room for error is like so high. So I think there is still like I think that it is I'm definitely bullish on that, but I just haven't heard like, oh, super like awesome, like this is working kind. It's like I think it's still in that
Hmm.
POC experimentation phase.
Yeah.
Um, but love the idea of like always on, experimentation. Um, I think that's one of the, like how we do experiments traditionally is right. You launch something, wait for stat sig, then like take a next bunch of creatives, put it through legal, then like right like launch. So I can see the value in like something like always on. Obviously, like regulated industries, my when I go out and like explore these POCs, my concern, and I'm sure the legal and compliance team would also be like, how do we know what variations and combinations of like copy are we sending to each user? Are those combinations going to be compliant? Like, what if it says send something like that just doesn't make sense? So I think, yeah, I think those are all the things that we'll need to figure out.
Yeah, it's funny we're talking about the experimentation space and like StatSig you just mentioned, like it just reminded me that StatSig, the company, the A/B testing tool, was actually recently acquired by OpenAI for like 1.1 billion. And I was like trying to figure out why. Like I was shocked by why did an LLM purchase primarily like a product focus experimentation tool. And the acquisition potentially was like strategic to bring their founder on as like OpenAI's technology officer of apps, kind of reflecting OpenAI's ambition to like strengthen some of the
Yeah.
areas around product engineering, enterprise AI. So might be less of like the we're going to build something for experimentation and more about like we want some of the human capital behind that. But do you remember seeing that? Like, were you kind of surprised by that acquisition?
I do remember seeing it on LinkedIn. I am not super close to like how Statsig works, but I think if it's a product experimentation tool, like I'm wondering if OpenAI is um I mean, I think as they grow as a company, right, they're probably figuring out like the specific use cases. Enterprise companies are going out and like buying and spending dollars on other companies, and like if they're ultimately using OpenAI's LLM model on the back end, like can OpenAI offer that product? And it's right. It's like to some extent, I think there is going to be a suite of products that OpenAI will offer. Like Google offers all these like adjacent products, and so maybe OpenAI
Mm-hmm.
is trying to build on that. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm like using custom GPTs for data analysis, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
OpenAI builds out its own. And I think that's what we see in the Martech space too, right? Where the offer fit, praise, acquisition. It's to your point, right? Like, yeah, there might be these smaller companies building out these agents, but what if like a bigger automation platform builds out an agent? But it is likely that these bigger companies could acquire some of these individual like data agent or journey agent, right? Like these kinds of companies, because I think there's a lot of nuance in like building out each of these agents, right? When I was just exploring the journey building agent potentially, there's just so many nuances, right? Like if you're editing an existing journey, how do you like figure out the branching out logic? Like it still need access to like all the data to write the branching out logic, right? So it's just like so specialized. So I could see like why like a bigger sales force might not be able to figure it out, but like, a smaller
Mhm.
player might be. Um, so yeah.
And then they just get acquired. Bigger shark eats the little fish.
Yeah.
Such as the cycle of startups and Martech. We're all familiar with that one. So yeah, there you go. Hivemind Memory Curator, free product idea, OpenAI, StatSig. Let's make it happen. Marketing ops
Yeah.
folks would love it.